Hello everyone, welcome back to another video reaction with The Void Touched. Today we're going to be looking at the Bungie ViDoc that came out a few days ago. I would have done this a little sooner, but we had a birthday with my girlfriend I had to celebrate, and that was a little more important at the time. So we're going to go ahead and jump into this, and let's go ahead and get this started. All right.
I know what you're wondering.
Okay, to start out immediately. We have Ikora and Eris Morn. We have two Guardians that seem to be unknown at this time. I don't know if it's going to be us or we have heard rumors of there being NPC Guardians just hanging out in the social space with Witch Queen, so this could be them. They seem to be using the Season of the Lost gear here. We do see a shadow of another.
It's true. And what is...
All right, yeah, we got that hunter here. This is Savathun's ship, and that is massive. It's really cool looking too. It's got that ring. Kind of honestly reminds me of Star Wars with the droid ships. How it's that big circular ring. It's got that big disc that was in the middle of the dreadnought that we saw on Oryx's ship. So no doubt this is the central portion of the ship, and where Savathun houses the main portion of her power in this form. Okay.
False.
The Witch Queen is an unsettling mystery.
That it is.
Our biggest foe, Savathun, has our grand...
Okay, let's take a look at this area, because this reminds me, so it looks like this is the inside of the ship. We see the big like viewing port here. So this is what we were just looking at from the inside. So we have Savathun, we have the plate, we have two different temples. This already looks a little different than most hive architecture we've come across before.
Savathun has our grandest tool, the light.
Yes, she does. No Bob, we've seen
narrative
that.
threads that we...
So if we look in the background here, they have the sidearm from Witch Queen sitting on the table. I'm sure nobody missed that, but at the same time, that's really cool. Rocking them gold kicks there.
that we planted way back in Destiny 1.
Okay. So here we have Ikora, Saint, Anna Bray, Shax. This is most likely us. This is most likely our Guardian, because this is happening in the tower.
I'm here to protect humanity.
We have Zavala still sitting here. The Traveler's still out back.
How do we stop this?
The stakes in the
What's up, Saladin and Eris? What have we got going on here?
universe are rising, and it's the greatest challenge that we've ever faced.
We're shedding that dogma of light equals good, darkness equals bad.
So they've been doing that for quite a while, letting us know that dark and light don't necessarily mean alignment. So I'm glad that they're really double downing on that. They're really wanting to push that concept even more.
We're really entering the mists and trying to discern what's in front of us.
Right,
and
so that's clearly Fundament. We've got 3 of them that come up, 1, 2, 3, and a possible 4th with this right here. It could be a 4th one coming up, but there should only be 3 hive gods left alive. Ka's dead, Zol has gone into hiding. So that would make this Eir, the Keeper of Order, one of the 3 of them, the Ever Hunger, and Yul, the Honest Worm. So these are the last 3 hive worms that are like alive. Ka was killed by Oryx to earn the power to take, and we defeated Zol, who then is somewhere on some unknown planet hiding. Where there's a lore card from Nokris before he's ultimately killed by us in Season of Arrivals. He detected his master Zol is somewhere in the distance out in space and reached out to try to commune with them, and Zol retreated and put up more barriers and more blocks before Nokris could reach them. So Zol is currently in hiding and is definitely scared. Now, we've seen this before. This shot. So there's another trailer. Ooh, that's a really close one. There's another trailer that shows a version of this area in Savathun's throne world with the white light royal aesthetic around it and a big effigy of her face above it, sort of like the way all the powerful hive talk to us, summoning a form of themselves above the area. So there is some sort of tribute to this area in the throne world. So that is most likely going to be of importance. Let's turn
lurking just underneath the surface.
What is your truth now?
There are a lot of bombshells in the Witch Queen narrative.
All right, so let's take a look at these. These are some pretty interesting looking sparrows we got here. Very blocky. I kind of like it. I'm not sure what this is floating off of a hunter, but I think it's just a graphical mistake. Some of these are incomplete.
And that's just scratching the surface of what we're going to get into this year.
I know there are a few hive enemies and things like that we see in the actual ViDoc that don't have
Witch
names.
Queen and
they're just
Season of
like
the Risen
insert name
chapter
here.
1 in the beginning of the end for the Light and Darkness saga.
So this is Mars. That was Ikora's ship that came flying in. This is it dropping her off.
To the core of what it means to be a guardian. We are looking at and asking big questions about the light and darkness.
We have a big bad.
So that is a
And
cutscene we haven't seen yet. This is new. We know it's new because the Techians are there. We've rescued all the Techians. Techians weren't there when she sealed Savathun in the crystal. So this is one we're getting ready to see.
Darkness.
We have a big bad that we've been anticipating for a really long time coming back in the form of Savathun.
Savathun's had a hand in most of the major conflicts that we've been involved with.
We've heard about Savathun for years and just bits and pieces, and then like you see it slowly building over seasons until
This
we
was
come to
Season
this
of
huge
Arrivals.
critical point.
Savathun's no longer just someone you hear about.
She's not just
This was at the beginning of
interfering in
Season of
little
Lost.
ways. She's now ready to take center stage.
This is really cool. I enjoy watching them do some of the motion capture.
We wanted to make her feel
for the
imposing
movements
and very
for
regal
Savathun.
and dancing through motion in some way.
The light offers us a fresh.
This makes me feel like either we are going to be witnessing Savathun speaking to us and walking around and actually having a conversation, or we're going to be getting more cinemas, more cutscenes, more cinematic moments where we're watching Savathun speak with somebody, speak with another random hive general, or it could be speaking with her ghost. For the first time, Savathun has the one companion she can actually really never truly lie to out of a ghost. I mean, how do you do that? The ghost sees everything you do unless you send the ghost away actively, but then the ghost knows something's up. So this is the first time she's faced with a true individual that is closer to her than any other like entity she's come across, next to the worm, and the worm only knew hunger. The worm clearly didn't know she was plotting against her masters. They saw that through her actions. So I'm really curious to see how these scenes play out.
Start.
She's very manipulative. She is very.
That could have been her
but she also
in
has,
front
like,
of the
that
lucid
creepiness
brood after
to
she's
her as
brought them
well.
back with the light.
She promised she'd help us
Convincing
out
and rallying them
with this
to her
pyramid
side.
ship problem that's coming our way. But the reality of the situation is Savathun.
So this scene is actually really excellent. We have Saladin, Eris Morn, Saint 14, Anna Bray, finally, Shax, and then our Guardian. This is clearly a stand-in for us. We've got Zavala's back here. We see this scene a little bit. We saw this exact shot a little bit earlier with Ikora standing over by the window.
Is only on Savathun's side. We've outlived our purpose.
I really feel like with this empty space here, someone's missing. They've taken someone out, either Rasputin as an Exo, Osiris, or Marasov, maybe Petrovenge. Who knows or Mithrax. It could be Mithrax standing here. Who knows who could potentially be here. This just seems like a very strange place to just have empty
And it is
air.
to Savathun's benefit to wipe us off that chessboard.
She's lived among us.
Oh,
She has played us for fools. She knows us inside and out. And she's been a step ahead of us, like, the whole way. So how do you beat someone like that?
So this was a really awesome shot from the beginning of Season of the Lost. We found out after this shot, because we have Osiris, or Savathun as Osiris here, and they transform into themselves, but then immediately Mara encases them in the crystal. But by the time we saw this, we'd also already seen the trailer for Witch Queen that showed Savathun, that showed the amazing model that they had crafted, who Savathun was. When this cutscene was made, they didn't have that. They didn't have the model done, so they couldn't go in and put the model of Savathun, because it would completely throw off everything. They'd have to re-render, they'd have to throw all the characters in, and like doing all that is hard enough. When you throw in something like the player character, that means it has to be done in engine. It's not pre-rendered. It has to be done with the random variables of whatever you have equipped at the time. So they have to go through and make sure that whatever exotic you have isn't going to cause a bug visually when it comes in there. So they put a lot of work into this cinematic, and I don't blame them for not going back and having to redo all of that work just because somebody had figured something out a couple months later.
It isn't too late. You can still be forgiven. Be careful. I'll hold you to it.
I still really feel like Savathun is moving towards a more neutral position, or at least it's introducing us to
manifestation of
the
Savathun's own
potential
personality,
of
which is in Witch Queen going through a transformation through the light.
These red flowers I love are all over the Black Garden as well, which the Black Garden is an interesting entity, because I feel like what we've been shown so far and what we understand at this point, the Black Garden is clearly an area where light and darkness meets. Because wherever this is two places that we've seen light and darkness intermingling in a way that have spawned these red flowers.
She has these areas that she's kind of trying to shun and push away. For the old hive areas, it's much more atmospheric. It's very dense. It's very claustrophobic.
Let's take a look at this pyramid ship shot here. All right, so it's all we can see just is geometry so far. I'm not seeing any possible walkways or entrances. Okay.
Then when you make your way into the Lucent Hive area, it's a lot more open and broad. It's definitely brighter, it's definitely more lively.
I do like the new aesthetic on them. They're not the red, they're not that yellow or brown. They are. And the fact that the hive are blue is actually super interesting, because we already have Keitel's Chosen that have the blue color scheme to them. And so that was clearly done intentionally. They don't usually mix color schemes for enemy types and things like that. There has to be some sort of symbology or reason that we're now suddenly fighting our second enemy faction, technically, that is adorned in blue armor, because we're currently aligned with the first one. In fact, they're supposed to be helping us in Season of the Risen, which we'll see in a moment.
We want people to look at it like an impressionist painting, something that's very pretty from far away, but as you get closer.
All right, so we see the hunter here. Looks like they're walking through. We've got a waterfall going into a large area where it looks like, so we've seen mentioned in a few other places about there being these kind of heroic public events or type situations happening in the throne world while you're going through the main story, where you can stop, drop a rally banner, and participate and kill as many enemies as possible. And if you clear it, you get loot. So it looks like this might possibly be one of those that we're going to come across whenever we play through the campaign for ourselves. Here we have another one of these hive statues. Now, if you look, its arm is perfectly normal right now, but whenever it switches, it's now covered in that decay that's also covering this one right here. So that is, I believe that has to do with the deep sight and like telling the difference between secrets and lies and those that have been exposed.
You're looking at shapes, you're looking at these.
All right, so we have a hallway shot here. That it's got a lot of these like Sauron eye looking things, like from Lord of the Rings, honestly. We've got several of those going on. These are all green. We've only seen purple so far. Then we have this shot that looks like we have 6 of these like crown pillar looking things that are holding an energy source or a light source of some sort, holding it bound amongst all 6 of them. It kind of looks like Toland-esque. So who knows what that could be, but it does look like it is some sort of containment. So whatever that is being kept there. What have we got next?
And you're not entirely sure what they are, and you have to get close and you have to investigate.
Mm-hmm.
What's really going to be exciting for players is that they're going to get to play that part of psychic detective, trying to solve.
All right, so this is going to be part of the public space here. From what we have read, these individuals are going to be NPCs that are going to exist in the space. So, from what we've read, these are going to be NPCs that exist in the space. So these are characters that I would expect to see quite often whenever we come in there. This board is most likely going to fill up the more and more we do. With more photos, like crazy yarn connecting things that are all sorts of seem to be unrelated, but are actually more closely tied than anything else.
All of the many mysteries of the throne world.
Yeah, we've already got some of those going on here for links. I'm expecting this to get more full the more of the Witch Queen campaign we complete. This is an example of dropping into one of those areas. You have the Raleigh barricade here, or Raleigh banner that is, where they're going to drop down. They can put that and then do this like area heroic event.
Campaign.
The thing is really shady. I don't know. That may be something you can only see if you had deep sight on.
Witch Queen campaign, I think, is probably the most ambitious campaign we've made in a very long time.
We're building the definitively Destiny campaign, so leaning into the journey you can find in exotic missions or the mechanics you might find in a dungeon.
I'm excited having dungeon mechanics and pseudo raid mechanics in the campaign.
What do I need to do next in order to get to the end of this?
We've got Savathun, right? The Queen of Lies. So this campaign is full of
those
surprises.
Things kind of came in a weird way, and having her symbol admitted like that, I think that could lead to a lot of interesting mechanical needs.
And as I kept thinking about this, you know, I felt like I was really becoming.
So we have the wizard that was using the lightning. All of the Hive Guardians so far have seen very passive. They're not pressing a lot. So I'm hoping in the legendary campaign, which they have legendary Mars, you'll face harder missions and stronger combatants, recommended for experienced players with a broad arsenal to draw upon. Okay. The Arrival, so that's the opening mission. So we have legendaries. So it looks like we have a few modifiers we recognize. We recognize the Epitaph's Flame, something like that for the Scions. We have Chaff for the radar. We have Iron for like harder to flinch, if not impossible. Looks like this is going to be some sort of burn. Looks like Void, honestly. And then we have 2 new modifiers. I'm assuming this is going to be sort of like the power limiting one for the lockout. Not sure what this is going to do. It might be the one that is telling them that you get 1 revive per darkness zone.
Which is called Become Legend.
It's not for the faint of heart. It's
Good.
going to be loaded.
All right, yeah, if you look here. So, first, Hive Trooper display name. He has an overshield. This Hive does. So, what I believe this is coming from is we read in the Game Informer magazine that there was going to be these moths that move back and forth between hive. When they go into a hive, they buff that hive and beef them up with the light. They get an overshield, and they get a few more extra benefits. When you kill them, the moth will then fly out and seek out another acolyte or knight or any other hive it can get its hands on, or wings. And if there's none left, it'll fly at you and explode. So it looks like that's what we're looking at here. These are some pretty high damage numbers too, so that's pretty funny. We have a Soros Smg. It looks like it's one of the new weapons that is being reprised from Destiny 2 Year 1. Let's see. I don't see anything different here. We just have a, looks like a pulse rifle and an arc rocket launcher.
Going to be loaded with these moments that are going to be frustrating, almost like teeth gnashing, but when you get through those encounters, you're going to feel like really accomplished.
Double rewards.
I'm really liking that. Really liking that. Once again, Lucent Trooper display name.
Before, being able to broaden that experience for any kind of player who comes in is really important.
We have a new type of scorn here. Everybody emoting. We've got the moth presentation and the glaive, but we haven't seen a scorn that has this sort of cylindrical bucket helmet. So this is a new scorn that we've come across.
Fantasy and journey.
This is on the moon. This is the Scarlet Keep.
Then Season of the Risen is that same detective throwing on their flak jacket and defending Earth.
Still Scarlet
the
Keep.
Hive Guardians and the Lucent Hive and Sabbath.
Good to see Crow back. Let's take a look at this ghost in the armor. So this is the Cabal armor again. They are really pushing that, which a lot of people are excited for. It's great to finally have enemy-themed armor, or at least other race-themed armor. The ghost seems just right at home with those tusks sticking off the front of it. Crow, liking him juggling the knife. Glad that he's doing what he's doing. I believe that this is supposed to be Hawkmoon, because I believe it's now canon that is his weapon. Hawkmoon.
When Savathun shows up on our doorstep with the light, the first person to lend us help is Keitel.
You want us to hit them?
I need us to hit them.
She's got this light suppressing technology.
So in Season of the Chosen, there were the Scions that use a light suppressing gun on Zavala's ghost and then tried to assassinate him. He was rescued by Crow, and then Keitel killed the assassin, killed both of them, if you read the lore card that came after it. So that is a technology. It seemed like it fell into Osiris's hands, and it may have. It may be with Savathun. But it has been mentioned once or twice in some lore cards. I believe it was Hake was the weapon foundry that got its hands on it in a lore card before it ended up in the hands of the Future War Cult. Which it then was picked up by the Hidden for Ikora. We have obviously Saladin and Zavala here. This is a projection of the night, so this is clearly going to take place after the opening missions of Savathun's Witchqueen. Alright, we have Crow, Saladin, Zavala. There's a few people that I've noted that are absent from these plannings. We have not seen Osiris at all. We've not seen Mithrax at all. And we have not seen Mara Sov at all. So it'll be very interesting to see where those three individuals fit into this.
Going to help us use that against the Lucent Hive.
Excellent.
When you're working with Keitel,
so that's a big cannon.
She has a different approach.
Keitel.
It's not about asking questions. It's about getting in there and...
What do we got? What do we got? All right, so that's these are Hive that are in test tubes, it looks like. We have a single Scion sitting in a chair in the middle, Cerebro style. Two Scions working simultaneously, and we have looks like a Night Guardian encased in a bubble.
We don't really understand what happened when Savathun actually was able to take light. So
this, I believe, is the gameplay for the artifact. So for the first time ever, the artifact this season is going to be an actual weapon. And this is gameplay of that artifact.
In many ways is about
it throws like a spear,
and
they were able to slam it on the ground. It's very interesting. So this has to be somewhere in the EDZ. That's what all of this is. I highly doubt that this is her throne world, because if you look, it has the same device up in the sky that we saw earlier when it was talking about the about Keitel and strapping on a flak jacket to go fight the enemies on the front lines. So I believe this is going to be an area in the EDZ where we have an actual fight with Savathun's hive on the Cosmodrome, on EDZ. So so far we have seen the season of the Risen's event is going to take place on the moon, and so far, and we've seen it take place here on the EDZ. So there are 2 areas right there. It remains to be seen if it's in anywhere else, but we have at least these 2 areas is where we'll be going for the seasonal activity. It looks like we are using a new auto rifle. Can't tell what season that auto rifle is, but I know that there is 2 auto rifles coming to us. One for the Witch Queen and one for Season of the Risen. It looks like it's a Risen one because these are kind of Cabal symbols. So this is most likely the Cabal themed auto rifle.
And poses an existential threat to everyone because she basically has an undead army.
We have the pretty gnarly shots of the Guardians.
In fighting the Lucent Brood, this isn't our first time in the game fighting other light bearers, but it is the first time that we'll be facing other light bearers that have much more.
So it looks like this is the Hive Acolyte actually just playing with some sort of energy. Similar to like when we do our emotes, we summon this energy, this neon type energy, and utilize that. So I believe that's what this is. They're basically just doing their own form of emotes. You see this Acolyte back here. We're going to rewind it a little bit. You can actually watch. You can see. We're going to watch him right here. The moth floating around.
When you look at these Hive Guardians and when they do their abilities, you immediately make that connection like, oh, they are using my powers against me. As soon as we see the Knight pop its super and it has 2 shields, you immediately are like, oh yeah, I see that connection. And then it's like,
we did see there for a moment. We have the grenade launcher on their back. They're using a sidearm. This Warlock up here has the bow. And then most likely this one here, whose view we have it from, this is the fusion rifle, which seems like a void fusion rifle. Those shields are getting thrown right in your face.
You're like, oh yeah, I see that connection.
The bounce damage didn't kill the other one, but the initial impact did. And the shield slam itself there is
the Guardians themselves kind of feel like a fire team that you're fighting against. You got every class represented.
The Acolyte, when that character casts, does very similar thing.
Whenever it dodges, it sends out its knives, and the knives, after a moment of spinning, home in on you.
The arc.
The wizard throws out its lightning that summons and slams in multiple different random areas.
You are essentially going to have to play that fight over again.
If you're successful in taking down one of these Hive units that are wielding the light, you actually have to go up and kill their ghosts.
That was like one of my favorite things that we were able to do in this game, is just that moment where you crush the ghost.
It's kind of
pretty solid
moral dilemma. A ghost is your companion, and now suddenly you have one in your hand and you're about to crush it.
The first time it happens, you're like looking at your hand like, I can't believe what I've just done. Am I doing this? Should I be doing this?
I have a ghost.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
What is going on?
Savathun and her Lucent Brood are the most dangerous enemies we've faced so far.
So this looks like it's a shot from the new 6-player offensive that we're going to have in the Witch Queen that is about assaulting the throne world. Because every time we've seen shots of it, it's been in this long hallway corridor. So I believe that is what we're seeing here. I could be wrong. That or else it could be both.
Savathun and her Lucent Brood are the most dangerous enemies we've faced so far. And so we're going to need better, more powerful weapons and tools to fight against that threat.
We did a bunch of work early on looking at various different types of weapons we could add to the sandbox.
We wanted to introduce a special weapon archetype that was effective more at a middle range, but also had these kind of additional roles associated with it.
It looks super ornate too. I really love the way that this thing is set up.
the Glaive is a projectile weapon, and it is a shield, and it's a melee weapon. We wanted to keep that experience in first person. It has an immediacy that you don't really get when you're using a sword because the camera
we see
is
when
so
it hits
much
here,
further
it actually
back.
has
Because
a lingering
this is
effect on
also
that
a projectile
thrall.
weapon with.
All right, so downward stab, or like the helm breaker. So we have a hilt strike, single target. Downward slash. So it killed this thrall. This thrall ran up into the Glaive and also took the damage. So there will be collateral as long as it hits your Glaive hitbox while it's in the middle of an attack, it appears.
Because this is also a projectile weapon with a...
It's a pretty brutal shot. It does quite a bit of damage, it seems. Didn't even get that.
The onus of skill on aiming these weapons is about leading and compensating for the speed of the projectile.
I'm sure there would be one of each
and
element that's on a legendary edition.
If you're in a really difficult encounter and one of
It
your
hits hard
teammates
from what we can
dies
tell,
somewhere out in the open where you
shot.
normally wouldn't be able to get to them, you can bring that shield up and actually get the revive and then
So
fall
it expects
back.
us to believe that they're getting hammered by that barrier champion the entire time, and I believe it. But when it gives us that other shot, this barrier champion is out of range from shooting it, but it is very likely that the barrier champion just moved up and broke its own line of sight for its projectile, because they do that quite often. So if the Glaive can actually protect against champions' shots like that, that's amazing. That's so amazing.
Originate with Savathun trying to steal an extremely powerful weapon for her own use, and players will use the weapon crafting recipes that they find throughout the campaign in order to reconstruct this incredibly powerful and incredibly ancient weapon.
So, as we've seen before in other trailers, especially the one that showed us the first mission, it is on Mars, and supposedly Savathun is trying to steal a weapon, which is clearly going to turn out to be this blade that we have. We find the Enclave on Mars as well and decide to forge the weapon itself into something for us to use. So this is something Savathun was trying to take for herself, and it ended up falling into her own hands, and now we're going to go and stab her and all of her children with it, and it's super funny.
When you put together your Glaive in the campaign, you just get a taste that that's what you want to do for the rest of the weapons that you get.
Absolutely. So we're going to take a look here. We're going to take this step by step. So we've seen these walls of shots of molds before. We have the crucible swinging into the device, shape and reshape, create new, modify one that exists already. So first things first, it has been pointed out by several people already, hand cannons are missing from this list. Do not know why. I personally think it's just an oversight with the demo that they showed that has this information. I don't believe that they're going to have all of this weapon crafting and not put a hand cannon in it. That sounds a little ridiculous to me, but we'll see in about a week and a half. So we have Come to Pass, which is the Witch Queen auto rifle, and Sweet Sorrow, which is the Season of the Risen auto rifle. This is the one that I believe we saw earlier in the gameplay. And then this is the one that we've seen used in all of the trailers for the weapon crafting and in the TWAB for weapon crafting and things like that.
How long it's going to take you to get there, and you get exactly...
All right, so we have two sniper rifles here. We have Father's Sins, also Season of the Witch. This is going to be an elemental. Then we have Thoughtless, that is Season of the Risen. Season of the Witch. This is Witch Queen, sorry, in the Season of the Risen. And this is either a stasis or a kinetic sniper rifle. I'm hoping stasis. I'm hoping that we get a suite of stasis weapons.
The thing that you want.
I really want to see what people do with it and like the feedback that we're getting.
So here we have the typical reload perks,
and people sharing
neutral element. All right, here's something that is super interesting that we're going to take a look at. We have the regular perk, which is, this is a new one, so we're not sure what it does. We have Threat Detector, okay? You get Threat Detector by using the weapon and unlocking more stuff and leveling it up. So now you can equip Threat Detector. Well, eventually when you level up enough, you can equip an enhanced version of Threat Detector. So it adds an extra layer of customability and actual RPG elements into the weapon, because not only do we unlock the perks, we unlock enhanced versions of the perks, and that's fantastic. All right, let's take a look at the Enigma here. So we have that new perk once again. Not quite sure what it does. We have these standard perks that are going to be like the barrel perks for the glaive weapons. Extended mag, because it is still a gun technically. And then kill clip, because you get a kill with it, reload, and then I'm hoping your melee attack will do more damage, because that could almost be really good. Then we have the origin perk. Not sure which the one this is supposed to stand for, but all of the origin traits are going to be slightly altering the way these function anyways, just to show that where they come from is unique.
You're creating your guardian, and you want to be able to shape your guardian into
what else we got?
What you want them to be. And this gives us a great
the
opportunity
reload animation for the glaive, which looks
that.
super slick. The crucible going through the device for the enclave. So this is the second worm launching grenade launcher we've gotten, except this one is clearly a heavy. The other one was a breech loaded grenade launcher. This one, seeing this one, this may be the raid grenade launcher. It's launched them out, and they just flat out exploding, taking them all out in a fire explosion. Let's take a look at this launch. So there is one in the tube. It's right there. It's right there. And launched, and suddenly it's out of the tube, and it is going crazy. Damn. I don't know if it's a redesign of the parasite or if it's a whole new weapon. Because if it's a second weapon that uses worms as ammunition, that's crazy. If it's a redesign of the parasite, then that's interesting. So we see here the Osseo Striga, which is going to be the other exotic weapon that we'll be able to forge in the Enclave. The main ones being the exotic glaives that are unique per subclass or per class. So here we have the exotic itself. It's got the intrinsic trait, which is exotic, and then it's got the exotic trait, which they usually synergize together. Then we have barrels, mags, stocks. Another one that is going to be filled up that's not usually on exotics. But because of this, you'll be able to craft the exotic and keep going through until you level up enough that you can put all the best stuff on it. You can have all the best attachments on it. And it's really cool that we're going to be able to start having that extra level of customization with exotics. So if this person wants to make it so that it has high stability on it, fantastic. It's got high stability.
Something which Guardians have made, but it's modeled after weapons of sorrow, like Thorn and Touch of Malice, Fires.
I love the calculator watch. The calculator watch so far is the best thing I've seen in this entire trailer.
Of tiny homing projectors.
ViDoc. So once again, we do see the moth around this one. It disappears, most likely because this one is about to die. It may have been something that, or may have been a graphical glitch actually, because it looks like the light shoots out of them, and we have the moth spawning again right here. So it looks like it may have just been a graphical glitch, because it is shiny here, and then suddenly it's not. But then it's exploding with some light, like that moth is coming out of it. So I think it was just a graphical glitch on their part.
Explode in this poison burst. We have an exotic machine gun, where the whole idea is be the Colossus. You can launch a barrage of up.
This is going to be my gun.
Missiles.
It's a comical amount of projectiles on the screen.
Oh, that's going to be bonkers. I love it. See if we can see where we're at here. This looks like the EDZ. Looks like we're back on the EDZ here. That's clearly what this is. I think this, though, is one of those areas between areas where they're just using it to show off the effects of some things. But those are Hive. And Hive are not on the EDZ at this time. So, excellent.
Exotic glaive for each class this time, and the exotic perks tied deeply into the mechanics.
So, Warlock Glaive, which fires down a healing turret. Hunter Glaive, which fires out Seekers on the ground that deal chain lightning damage. And then the Titan Glaive, which pops down a... So, it looks like a thing of pudding. It's not a dome. You're jumping into a big thing of flan.
Really cool additions to build crafting. With got, you know, the usual suite of raid weapons, destination.
So we have these multiple weapons here. These don't look like anything. When we have this bow, this is going to be a Season of the Risen bow. This looks like the Season of the Risen auto rifle.
Activity, seasonal.
Season of the Risen. I'm assuming that is a grenade launcher, a breech-loaded grenade launcher. We have an Obalon fusion, and then we have a Vice sidearm.
50 new weapons.
They said 50 new weapons, so what that is most likely, they said 42 legendary weapons previously, so it's probably it's the 42 legendary and the 8 exotic weapons that we're going to be getting. We see all Witch Queen gear, it looks like, on these 3 Guardians. Not a single seasonal piece of gear. It's all Witch Queen.
You're going to have 2 new exotic armor for each class, totaling 6, 1 stasis, 1 non-stasis. The Titan stasis exotic. Cast your barricade, and instead of, you know, this Traveler's Light and the Rally Barricade, you create a giant wall of ice. Even though this thing is massive, you still get all the benefits of Rally Barricade.
So it does look like it is the shape, at least, of a Rally Barricade. But it is huge. You have that like sniper port in the middle. I think that's going to be a game changer in some portions.
We called them the Devouring Rift legs because we wanted Empowering Rift to feel like it had a...
Okay, it's got the Season of the Risen armor. I love the jacket cloak.
Place in endgame content the way that Healing Rift does. Empowering Rift doesn't heal you. Well, what if it did?
That thing is going to be a monster, like they have it paired here in their video with
a massive
Void Buddy.
revamp to the Void subclass systems across all 3 classes. This is a huge update and will allow players
Stasis system. So melee final blows grant grenade energy. We have this Voidwalker Warlock has scatter grenade on. It looks like blink over here.
Build craft in ways that they've never done before.
One of the things we wanted to do is create a core set of verbs like we did with State.
Overcharger grenade, vortex, axion, scatter, magnetic, void soul, weakening them. Okay.
Anyone can run suppressors now. I think that's the pretty
Anyone
cool
can run suppressors.
Suppressor grenade
yeah. We wanted you to feel like you were the energy vampire, feel like you were the Night Stalker, feel like you were that protector, that big Sentinel Titan. So you're going to see things like...
Okay, we see multiple moths here at once. So now, I mean, we've seen it before, but we are going to be running into multiple of these enhanced enemies at once. So we do need to be aware of that.
Bastion, a new Titan aspect where you take your big old Sentinel shield, slam it into the ground, and create this void barricade that's going to apply overshield to you.
Finally, seeing one that this can go with a rally and it doesn't have to be a towering is actually really cool to me, because then you can get the overshield and you can get all the extra stability and reloads from that. So that's really neat. I'm glad that I hope we start seeing more uses of barricades.
As this warlock controlling space and time, I'm able to rip a hole into another dimension and then pull out this little like sentient black hole. Whenever I target an enemy, my little black hole button.
So this is in the swamp. With these are spawned here.
Fly over there and start draining their life force.
Not seeing anything in the swamp. We see some of the red flowers here. So this part of the swamp may be a little closer to where it turns into the light.
The Void 3.0 update is really setting the stage for how we're thinking about updating the subclasses for the rest of the year.
We're going to extend this philosophy to Solar and Arc. Solar obviously is going to be about burning, but there's this other component to Solar, and that's healing. Arc is all about chaining. It's all about lightning, direct attacks, quickness. We're going to take the fantasies that you know and love today. We're going to embellish them. So what you'll see is like all of the new abilities, all the new actions you take.
Let's go ahead and analyze this as well, because we are almost at the end. So we have just a little bit more left to look at here. So they're all invisible when they're coming out here. The Hunter does a shatter dive type situation where they turn invisible and then their allies also turn invisible. Now they're invisible, the enemies can't see them. Titan throws their shield. It hits one. It hit 2 enemies and then dissipated.
You take, reinforce that to the core. Pretty excited about it.
Same.
Witch Queen is very much the culmination of the last 6 to 7 years.
Let's take a look and see if those Guardians had anything unique. Nope.
The culmination of the last 6 to 7 years of just destiny all together. And really, this is starting the road to the final showdown. But things aren't necessarily just dark and light anymore.
So we have some of Keitel's loyal here. Keitel speaking with Saladin. I don't know what kind of tense moment they're having here, but I know Saladin in the lore right now is working with the Cabal above Mars. He is helping them fight Xivu Arath, or above the black hole that would be Mars, and is helping them fight Xivu Arath. So hopefully this is going to be something in relation to
dark
that.
And light
we have the Scions back here with Zavala, which is interesting because the Scions are the ones that went out of their way to try to assassinate Zavala. And anyone that has read up on the Scions is they exist in a consensus. But because of Keitel, that consensus split. There are those that believe they should be loyal to Keitel and be free citizens, yet remain part of the Cabal Empire. And there are those who still go by the old ideologies of the Cabal Empire and think Keitel is weak. So it is... I'm hoping we get an actual Scion storyline soon that separates them out into their own faction like they should have been to begin with.
There's a lot more nuance in the game.
We've got Ikora. Now this is another shot from before, but this one seems a little more somber. Everyone's gathered around, everyone's parting as Ikora is coming through, and she's carrying something. And she's carrying it with care. So either it's something that's extremely important, dangerous, or volatile, or it is something that is a memento or a memorandum of someone who has died.
Fight. Players have something that they're really going to be challenged by.
I can't wait for everyone to find out what's been going on with Savathun. Like, I'm excited.
They're teasing a whole lot more. There's more going on with Savathun. There's more going on with Savathun. So I'm very excited to see how this plays off because they're all super hype about it. And whenever someone's super hype about their own stuff, it's really easy for other people to get really hyped about it, get really into it. So I'm letting the hype buy in. I don't think they're going to disappoint because this is looking pretty gnarly so far.
Aren't you?
From the throne world to the campaign to the...
Let's take a look here. This looks like Witch Queen weapons.
The customizable
got a finisher. That's the artifact together. Again. Yep, we've got the artifact again. We've seen it in a different shot that is a little more cleaned up promotional art of this, but the artifact itself is being chucked at Savathun. It all
comes together to make Destiny feel really new and fresh.
We've got more Destiny coming this year than any other year before.
Hell
it's
yeah.
one of the most ambitious releases we've ever
got ourselves a exchange for tomb ships.
Put together, and the team is firing on all cylinders.
This is Mars. I'm assuming this is going to be part of the opening mission. That's a seasonal bow, maybe? I don't know. From that silhouette, it's really difficult to tell. It could be a Witch Queen bow. We have the Void Warlock summoning a Void Buddy, the Arc Warlock summoning an Arc Buddy. The finisher going visible.
What do you think you're going to do?
All of them using different emotes, but they all look super slick. All right. Well, that is everything for the Witch Queen ViDoc. I apologize for how long it is, but there's a lot to go over here. I'm super excited. They revealed quite a bit in here. I think my favorite information that they revealed, let's go back and find it, was specifically about weapon crafting. The Enclave is what I want. This is what I've been looking for the longest time. So I'm super excited to get my hands on the Enclave. I'm very happy that they've released this information. There's a little bit more to go. We've got about a week and a half until Witch Queen launches. So keep it right here with the Void Touched. Thank you all for hanging out. Like, comment, subscribe. Hang out and check it out on Twitch whenever I'm live streaming over there. And yeah, peace.